I was harassed yesterday for about 10 minutes, I suppose, by someone I know who doesn't know you yet, the Heavenly Dad, and is much troubled and, well, he was having a go at me because he wanted to express how disgusted he was with his particular view of an organisation he's belonged to and is dissolving now, been dissolved, technically. Well, a very troubled situation. But you see, I'm aware at the time I can't break through into this man's dilemma, and he's ranting off at me. And I have to trust that God will keep him stable because, well, I don't want literally violence, which he's sort of near because he's very unstable at present. And I'm just aware of God, in as far as I can be amidst the shower of words that are coming. And I reflect now, a day later, just under, that it's almost certainly because he doesn't know the love of God. It's nothing to do with the organisation he's talking about or the way he feels it's so wrong. And it may be, and it is from his point of view. But from my point of view, it's nothing to do with that, nor me. It's to do with the hasn't come to know, recognize God's love for him and all life, all. If that were uppermost in his mind, he wouldn't be ranting at the minute. He'd be in peace and in joy. And we would be fellowshipping rather than experiencing this play of discord. Thy loving kindness, Heavenly Dad, is sweeter than life. This is life eternal, to know Thee, Thy loving kindness to us all. If I had said it to him, he might well have replied in pure frustration and fury because he hasn't got through to me as he would feel it concerning the hatred he feels for what he feels he's experiencing and is experiencing. I can't rescue him. I can only be aware of God in the situation as he rants on, accusing me in passing of being part of it, of course. I can't put him right on that. There's no point in saying that it's not the case, it's not true, because that will just heap up on his frustration even the more. So I just endure in a mindfulness of God in as far as I can hold it in the storm. And yes, I am longing for this conversation to end. And mercifully it does, because he has an appointment to get back to work. And he winds it up himself and goes. Am I to feel guilty I haven't somehow managed to bless him? Or to change his mind? Of course, I couldn't change his mind. And yet, I have an assurance that you may think this is incredibly arrogant, but I'll say it. That he's nonetheless spent the last 10 minutes experiencing something of the living God, our Heavenly Dad eternal. In my non-violent reaction to him, just weathering the storm. I don't think I did anything that he could take away to the effect that he had something concrete to truly accuse me of, at least from my reaction in the last 10 minutes. Of course, he may be attributing all sorts of evil to me from his historicity of the past. But it's not consistent with the way I behaved during these 10 minutes, thank God. I was pleased to see him. I let him talk. You could say in worldly terms, I let him vent his anger. And I know in my heart, especially now on reflection, but even at the time, this poor chap, how do I rescue him? Well, I don't know, but I'm aware of God in the situation, and that's what counts. So I'm able to take the storm as it comes. Thank God it didn't get any worse. It didn't come to violence, physical violence. But you know, of course he's unstable. Of course he's unstable. Who wouldn't be in a secular world as it presents as such a reality? In a world of no God as it's presenting to him. In a world where he feels he's facing someone, me, Marshall, as part of that deceit and evil. How could he be anything but angry, and how can he contain himself in some reasonableness of social acceptable interaction? And he does, somehow. Doesn't get violent. I'd like to say because I'm part of God's presence, part of God's love, not wanting his situation to be worse, but rescue it. Rescue him. Known him for a few years. I had very, almost no contact with him at all in the last few years. In fact, the last time I had contact with him, he was telling me off wildly for going up his long drive and apparently risking the cattle getting out. I didn't know that, of course, but that's how he read the situation. And I weathered an incredible storm then from him. But we had a good outcome then, as I remember. Perhaps that was vaguely in his consciousness, that this Marshall is unusual in some way. Marshall's all wrong, of course, in his mind. Everything's wrong in his mind. Of course it is. How could it be otherwise when you don't know the love of God? You could say, I pray for him, but I don't. I'm trusting God, or doing all I can to trust God, that he loves him just as much as he loves me. Love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you that you do love and care for him, and that you know you will have him through into life eternal, knowing your loving kindness. And that in heaven and eternity, that's what he is already. It's just that he doesn't know it here because he's sorting something out, or rather you are, teaching him, making it clear, very, very, very clear, what he doesn't like about this environment, this secular world that he's living in. And he'll be transformed in a St. Paul type way, where he suddenly realizes all the frustration and ranting was out of place. That God's love has always been with him. That his very existence is because of God's love. And every atom, every point of experience that he's had, part of God's teaching and training, that he comes to know our Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. I reach out, remembering your loving kindness, and that this thesis is therefore true by your grace and your goodness. Love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad.